Hey guys, my name is Jalen, and if you don't know, I read Suzanne Collins' new book, The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, last week, and I had a lot of thoughts. Welcome back. So last week I posted a non-spoiler review of this book. I would definitely recommend checking that out. If you haven't read the book, I don't know why you're here. If you haven't read the book, I'm not gonna have one of those like non-spoiler sections. We're going right in. Like, I can say a spoiler right now. I really could. So if you have not read the book, please go ahead and I will link in the description my non-spoiler review for you to check out to see if maybe this is something that you want to pick up. And if you have read the book, then let's get started because I have a lot of things to say. All right? Bye, non-spoilery people. I need you to leave. Link is in the description. Don't forget, go watch my video. Okay. All right. We are back. So I rated this book 3 stars. Maybe 3.5. We're kind of fluctuating between 3 and 3.5 just because it's been a week now since I've read it and I still really don't know exactly how I feel. Like, after reading the book, I felt kind of disappointed, not gonna lie, but also, like, I don't know, maybe if I just wasn't expecting much because I already, like, knew the premise, like, from Snow's point of view. Like, I didn't really have, like, super high expectations. I mean, it was my most anticipated book, or at least one of them, for the year, but I'm kind of on the fence. So let's get right into some questions that I have, and maybe you guys like have the same questions as me because the end of the book was it didn't satisfy me. It didn't feel like a conclusion. Like, it felt very much like, wow, we saw all of Snow's life pretty much up until when he becomes the peacekeeper in District 12. But then after he gets rescued, I guess, from District 12 by Dr. Gall, we don't see anything. And then we see just him becoming the president of Panem. And so I'm just like, that's not what I wanted. What I really wanted from this book was to see him becoming president, like that whole process, like him going through school, what that was like, especially because now we know that he was he studied underneath Dr. Gall, which from the book, she is the worst human being, worst character ever. Like, right after Umbridge is this lady because she was horrible. Oh my god, she was horrible. And she's just sadistic and a psychopath, and now he's studying underneath her, and we didn't see any of it. So I just felt very, like, kind of upset about it. I really wanted to see the development of the Hunger Games, the unrest that was going on in the districts. I wanted to see what was going on in the Capitol specifically, and how they felt towards the Hunger Games, because I thought what was so interesting that we touched on in the very beginning was that, like, no one really watched the Hunger Games. The Hunger Games wasn't what it is in the rest of the trilogy. So, like, no one really cared about it. Even the Capitol people, like, the Academy students sometimes were like, yeah, like, what, whose idea was this? Like, why are we doing this again? Like, everyone was just really confused, which is, like, a complete 180 from what we see in the trilogy. All right, so I'm going to start from the beginning because I kind of just jumped all over the place, but that's kind of just what I wanted from the book and what I didn't get and what I was confused about, because there's just so many questions, and I believe that we're going to get a second book just from how this kind of played out and kind of everything that happened. So let's just get into the nitty-gritty details. So I did tab some places because I wanted to keep track of what I thought was important and all of that stuff. So in the beginning, we get a pretty good picture of what the war was like from President Snow's point of view, from Snow's point of view. And so it's him, his grandmother, and his cousin Tigress. And his parents both died. His dad died in the war. His mom died while giving birth. And that was not great. And we see that they had put all of their assets into District 13 during, like, before the war. They had all their assets, the Snow family, in District 13. That's where they're making all their money. And then, obviously, as we know, in the war, District 13 was nuked, and it's gone. So we get this, like, scene in the very beginning where the grandma is talking to, like, the press and stuff. They're like, what are you gonna do? And she's like, oh, we have assets other places, like, no worries. But they all know that that's a lie. Like, they don't have any assets anywhere else, and so now they're poor. But we see that he's in the academy, and he's really good at manipulating everybody, making everybody think that he is like, the family is still doing okay, like, they're still, like, well off. Everyone pretty much, like, kind of likes him, like, as a person, because they're like, oh, he's so charming, and, like, he just, like, knows how to play people, which, I mean, obviously we see in the rest of the trilogy that pays off for him. And so he is chosen as one of the mentors for the 10th Hunger Games. This is a new thing that they're trying to do. Each district person gets a mentor. So there's going to be obviously 24 contestants, 12 districts, and then 24 mentors from the academy that they chose from the capital, from the students and everything, which is different from what we see later on, because before it's people that were victors that were then chosen as the mentors for the tributes for the new year. We're on the same page. So this is interesting. This is new. That's what I was really excited about to learn about, was the Hunger Games before the Hunger Games that we know, because this Hunger Games looks so much different than the Hunger Games that we see later on, and I wanted more about that. How did we get to there? We don't see any of that in this book, unfortunately, but we do see that Snow has a huge part in the games, how they develop. So he's the one, his father actually was the one that submitted the proposal for the Hunger Games. We also see that Snow, it was his idea for the sponsors, like the kind of gambling part, the betting part of the Hunger Games. So getting food to the tributes and bringing in the capital to play a part in the games to get more views, to get more people wanting to watch, because that's what the whole part of the mentor thing that they're trying to do was that Dr. Gall is trying to find out how to get more people to watch the games in the capital. And because people just, like, aren't interested, which, like, valid. We're not interested. We don't want to see this. And so this was the idea that he came up with the betting. So yeah, that's like some of the ways that we see the Snow family being their lives interwoven with the games and how they have, like, influenced it. So I think that the next book is probably going to be more about what President Snow does to make the games into what it is, because I'm 100% sure that everything is his idea after that. Because even in this book, we see that the tributes, when they're taken from the district to the capital, they're, like, treated like animals. They're put in a zoo, like they're put in a zoo, and there's just they don't do the interviews, they don't do the whole, like, dolling everyone up and, like, getting them, like, all prepped and primed and, like, camera ready and everything. Like, that's not a thing. And we see that President Snow is kind of starting that in this book. He's the only mentor to go and meet Lucy Gray, which is his tribute from District 12, which just that was a lot to begin with. Her whole just, like, the irony of it all, him being a mentor for a tribute from District 12, and then in the end, District 12, the lowest of the low, taking him down in the like, normal trilogy. So it just was kind of came full circle for me. I was like, oh, I'm digging that. So that was cool, but he actually goes to wherever they're dropping off, like the train station, I guess, to pick up Lucy Gray, to, like, he gives her a rose, which it's too much. And then she's like, oh, are you the only one that's here? And she kind of had already won the crowd over by, she was singing during the reaping, and everyone's like, oh my God, Lucy Gray, who is that? You know what I mean? And then she also sets a snake or a lizard, some type of animal reptile, onto the mayor's daughter, and then the mayor, like, slaps her, and she's like, ooh. We're all like, ooh. Anyways, what started out to be a loss for him, because no one really wants a District 12 tribute because they've never won and they're kind of like the lowest of the low, as we know, turns out to be actually, like, a win for Coriolanus, because she's, like, a fan favorite now and everyone's rooting for him. Well, what we find out is that he doesn't really have much to worry about, because literally half the districts die before they even get to the games. there was a bomb. That whole thing happened. If you read the book, you know, it was just a hot mess. Honestly, the whole bomb part of where they blow up the inside of the, where they're going to be doing the Hunger Games, it just kind of like fell flat. Like that side storyline just didn't make any sense to like the rest of the book because one, it's never brought up again what exactly happens. I mean, I guess during that time we see Lucy Gray and like where her loyalties lie because she could have dipped, but then she saw President Snow trapped underneath like this like block or something, and then she like gets him out. So like that was nice, you know, I guess. But it just was like never brought back up, and then it didn't really do anything for the plot. Like nothing actually happened after that. Like there was who did the bomb? No one knows. Was it the rebels? Was it like a capital statement? Because I wouldn't put it past Dr. Gall to do something like that, to make a statement and to get like more capital people on the side and being like, oh yeah, rebels, we don't like them, we don't like the districts, we need the Hunger Games, you know, like that. I feel like that's a connection that she definitely, I wouldn't put it past her to make. But we still don't know about that, so it just felt like that kind of fell flat. But talking about Dr. Gall, let's talk about her for a hot second, because she was horrible. And so the entire book, she's like, everything that she says pretty much is like rhyming, which I don't know why, but in the very beginning, it was giving me very, she was giving me, like, you remember the character from the second, I think, Hunger Game book? And her name was like Nuts, I think. Like they called him Nuts and Bolts, and then she like sacrificed herself. Remember her? And she kept saying tick tock, her. So she was giving me like her type of vibes, like that type of like craziness, you know. And I was like, what's going on here? But then we find out that she's a psychopath, and she has been creating these like in her lab, these just like genetically modified like mutts. It's just so scary. She takes these, when we first see it whenever she tells them to make a proposal and how to get people to watch the games. And that's when I'm pretty sure that Snow makes the whole proposal about the betting and all that stuff. But she like does it like as a group project, and nobody does it but Coriolanus, because I'm pretty sure like one of their friends had died. Oh yeah, everyone's like really upset, and so Coriolanus is the only one that makes up this proposal. So him and this girl named Clementine, so him and Clemencia go to Dr. Gall to submit the proposal, even though Clemencia didn't do any of the work, but they kind of like lie about it or whatever. And so Dr. Gall's like, okay, do you guys have a copy of the proposal? And then they were like, no. We're hoping we can use the one that you have so we can like tell you about it. And she's like, oh, okay, well, it's actually like in this with like, it's like down there, you're gonna have to get it, there's like a bunch of snakes, but like just like reach down there, like no big deal. And what you find out is that the snakes attack Clemencia because they had already been familiar with Snow's scent, because his scent was the only one on the proposal, right? And so she gets bitten, and then she's literally for like almost half of the book, just like up until the games at least, she is just in the hospital and no one knows that she's there. No one knows what's going on. They think that she has the flu, but like Snow's the only one that knows that like Dr. Gall literally did this to her, and now she's in the hospital and they're like, she has scales. It was a hot mess. Like honestly, the beginning of the book was just a whirlwind. Like it was so interesting, so much fun, so cool. Like everything was going down. There was explosions, half the tributes were dying, and just craziness. And then we get to the games. The games, there's like there's no trackers on any of the tributes. Like for half of the games, literally they're just like in their respective corners throughout the arena, and like that's it. Like that's really it. Like sometimes they'll just die because like heat exhaustion or like just random stuff, but like half the time you don't really, like no one knows what's going on throughout the games. So like it sounds like it's so boring. Like they kept just saying like, well, day 3, nothing happened yesterday, like what's gonna happen this morning? And then it starts to pick up, because we see Snow and he gives Lucy Gray, who he's kind of falling in love with, which I was not here for that whole thing. Just him and Lucy Gray. because I didn't mind Lucy Gray. Like, I thought she was like a cool character or whatever. I thought she was interesting. She kind of was reminiscent of Katniss, not in like personality wise or anything like that, but just knowing that like from District 12 we've gotten two solid characters who just like kind of goes against the grain just in general. And so I don't know, she just like I didn't really believe their relationship at all, like, but I just like really didn't fall in love with either character. I mean, obviously couldn't fall in love with Snow because he's just a psychopath, and like that's just like reiterated throughout the book, just like him making, just like saying things that is just like really scary. We see that President Snow just like wants his control, like all the time. He just wants his control, and that's why I think that the Mockingjay was such like a just like disgusting to him. Like he just like hated them so much. Like, there's a bird, but like he hated the Mockingjays because they represent a loss of control. Like the Capitol was going to use these as like tools to get intel on what the rebels were doing, and then the rebels used them against them, and now like they can't really control the Mockingjays at all. You know what I mean? And so that was interesting because, as we know in the trilogy, the Mockingjay is a symbol of Katniss and of the rebellion. So just seeing that also come full circle was really cool. But anyways, back to Lucy Gray and Snow's relationship. So yeah, I liked Lucy Gray because she also loved Mockingjays. She loved to sing and she loved music. Her whole family are musicians and everything. So then also, we're not even going to get there because we're not there yet. We're still in the Hunger Games. So I just didn't believe their relationship, and I didn't really like them to begin with. I barely liked Lucy Gray. I barely liked Snow. The only character that I actually liked was Sejanus, that relationship with Coriolanus, because they end up kind of being lumped together a lot of times. Like, oh, that's your best friend. And he's like, no, it's not my best friend. But then seeing just like what happens to Sejanus later on with Snow betraying him and everything, and then him getting killed, it was horrible. And then Snow taking his spot as like son, as like heir of the plinth. It's a hot mess. Like the end of the story was a hot mess. So let's go back to the Hunger Games. So obviously Lucy Gray is in the Hunger Games. There's like half the tributes there. Everyone's pretty much dead. I don't even know why they continued. I don't know what was going on. Honestly, if all that happened, I'd be like, all right, guys, we need to start over and try again next year because this was just not good. Just because everything was going wrong, like one thing after another. And everyone, like, they weren't taking very good care of the tributes. So, like, even before they were getting to the games, they were dying from, like, starvation and from, like, just, like, all types of stuff. Oh, and then we see Lucy Gray using the poison that Snow gave her in the games, and then that ends up coming to bite him in the butt. But that is a huge like nod towards who he becomes. Like he uses poison for everything later on. I mean, we even see that at the end of the book when he poisons Dean Highbottom. Like it's just the rest of the book wasn't what I wanted. After the games, he ends up getting taken to District 12 as a peacekeeper, because Dr. Gall is like, and Dean Highbottom is like, oh, you like cheated and everything. So he goes, and then Sejanus ends up coming after him because he is like, I can't do it, like I don't belong there, blah, blah, blah. It was a hot mess. And then he just like keeps talking about how he doesn't like Mockingjays. He's with Lucy, and then he kills a few people. He kills like the mayor's daughter, and also Billy, which was Lucy Gray's like ex-boyfriend or whatever, because they're all trying to like escape or whatever. And then they end up Lucy Gray and Snow are like, let's escape together into the woods and get away and be together. And then as like he's going, he realizes that this is just not for him. He's like, yeah, I can't do this. This is just, I'm made for much more than this. And like, I'm just too great to live this life. And then he says something that like hints to Lucy Gray that he also was played a huge part in Sejanus's execution, because obviously we know that he betrayed him and everything. And so she gets freaked out, and I assume that she like ran away and was trying to like either find a getaway from him and try to kill him. I don't know, we don't know, but then scoring high enough to become an officer. But then Dr. Gall steps in. She's like, actually, this was just like a summer camp for you. Like, you weren't actually going to be here forever. We actually want you back in the capital. And I'm going to give you like a full ride to the university and you're going to be studying under me. And he's like, okay. And so he just like leaves Lucy Gray. We don't know if she's dead or alive. I'm assuming that she's dead, but we don't know. And then we don't see much after that. Then we just see him graduating and becoming President Snow. There's just a lot missing. There was just a lot missing in the book. I just still felt like I didn't understand him, and I didn't understand how he got from let's escape Lucy Gray and go into, like, was that just a ploy? Was that just like, was that fake? Like, tell me, what was your thought process there? Like, how do you go from that to being like, I'm gonna go now and poison Dean Highbottom, and I'm gonna make the games amazing, and everyone's gonna watch them. We're gonna get televisions. So, anyways, I think I pretty much went through the book. We did that, and I felt upset. I felt upset about it just because I wish it was more focused on the evolution of the games and how exactly Snow rose to power, how he got those swords in his mouth. So, I don't know, just like a lot of the things in the books, just I felt like the different plot lines they either like didn't make sense or they didn't just come together in like a nice bow at the end. Which, I mean, if it's gonna be there's gonna be another book, then definitely be the reason why. But I wanted more. It was 517 pages, and I felt like the entire middle part, like half of the games and pretty much all of the part where he's a peacekeeper, that could have just been like the editor could have just been like, X, we don't need it. Like, there was a lot of pages where I just felt like, I don't need this information right now. Like, this is just useless information to me. I felt like it was long, but I didn't get enough information in it. Like, how does that make sense? Tell me what you guys thought about the book. Do you think there's gonna be a second book? What do you think happens to Lucy Gray? How do you think that he was when he was studying underneath Dr. Gall? Do you think that was like a pleasant experience for him? Do you think that maybe she like was grooming him all along to be what she wanted him to be? Did she like see some type of like hidden purpose inside him that she was like, ooh, I see that, that's like, I can use that, I can exploit that, like that's gonna be the future of Panem? Like, did she see something in him that he didn't see and she was just trying to like bring that out? Like, what do you guys think? Because I personally think that Dr. Gall had a mission all along, and it was President Snow. I mean, even the way that she made him just write so many papers, and she like saw when he was bluffing or just like trying to fluff stuff, and then she saw when like, oh, that's his real mindset. Like, let's expand on that, President Snow. You know what I mean? So like, I feel like she knew all along who he was gonna be and who he could be, and all of this stuff was just a test. But also, I don't know, because a lot of things could have went differently. You know what I mean? So if there's a second book, I'm definitely gonna read it, just because at this point I'm invested. You know what I mean? I just need to know. But I really would have liked something else. Tell me your guys' thoughts. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next one.